going to ask you this once. Where is Optimus Prime? Here I am. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a throwback look at none other than the Toys R Us exclusive Transformers Age of Extinction Rusty Evasion Mode Optimus Prime. This has actually been a figure of which I've been so excited to take a look at over on the channel, as not only do I believe this to be by far one of the best Transformers 4 figures that we ever saw, but it's actually a super cool rendition of Optimus Prime. I loved how they took that original trilogy design and essentially packed it into a G1 style of cab, and if I had any critiques with this design, it would be that we didn't see it enough in the movie. I really would have loved this to have been the main look for Optimus going forward for Transformers 4 and Transformers 5. However, sadly, halfway through the film, he of course turned into a Western star, and well, we all know how that went down. But you can see, here we have the Toys R Us exclusive version. In my personal opinion, the most accurate repaint that we ever saw for this particular mold. Sadly, all of the others were either incredibly weathered, really dark, or of course were just basically G1 inspired, whereas this one I actually think is, whilst not perfect, is probably the most screen accurate, and we'll no doubt see a Studio Series version of this in the future, so I'm really excited to see how that does in fact actually stack up compared to this figure, as even here in 2022, I think mold-wise, this is a really solid Voyager. Now you can see that in regards to the box art, we've got a fantastic CG render there of Evasion Optimus Prime looking all rusted, beaten up. You can see we've got some components missing here to the fists, various different bullet holes here on the armor, a cracked windscreen, just overall such an awesome look for the character. We've got the figure clearly displayed, considering this is an exclusive. We've got this fantastic metallic foil going on here for the Transformers 4 logo. This is indeed a part of the movie Advance wave, so the same wave as the Spencer that I recently reviewed over on the channel. And then as we spin our attention here to the back, you can see we've got some awesome product shots of Prime in both robot mode and truck mode. Surprisingly, he's looking a little cooler here in truck mode when in comparison to bot mode. Sadly, there does appear to be a lot of spaces of which haven't actually been painted, but I'm hoping he'll look slightly better once we crack him out of the box. And of course, we get a really cool bio. Optimus Prime and the Autobots are faced with a new kind of war. Alliances that were once strong now stand in doubt. Nonetheless, Earth needs their protection more than ever. Optimus Prime adapts, redesigning his alternate mode so he can move unrecognized. If he cannot fight the battle with firepower on the front lines, he can fight it with covert maneuvers from the edge. So definitely a bio which is more than fitting for this incarnation of Optimus. I actually loved the barn sequence, especially when of course he is incognito, trying to evade lockdown. So without further ado, let's crack open this Evasion Mode Optimus Prime and see whether or not this repaint is in fact vastly superior when in comparison to some of the previous versions. Ba-ba-boom, and here we have Evasion Mode Optimus Prime, cracked open and out of the packaging, and of course fully transformed up into this really awesome, almost G1 inspired flat-nosed truck. Now in my personal opinion, it is really the alt mode that makes this particular incarnation of Prime incredibly distinguishable when in comparison to some of the other Bayformer Prime offerings. You can see that in regards to the detailing, honestly this is where the repaint truly shines. This looks exceptional and will probably be how I display this guy in the collection, as I don't think any of the other repaints truly have captured the look of the truck mode as well as this. Now as we bring him in here for a closer look, you can see we've got those super awesome flame details of which are fading along the side. You can see some fantastic rusted details. Overall it just looks fantastic. We've even got some nice blue highlights, of course, just to showcase that the actual metal parts are rusting away, which I think is a really nice touch. The hubcaps too have also got some really nice rusted in paint. You can see there for the fuel tanks, that all looks great. Sadly, as we come here to the back, the trailer hitch for the most part is just bland, almost Milky Way-esque type of plastic. You can see how there's literally no paint on this at all, and it would have been nice to have seen more of that rust actually painted here. But of course, considering these become the base of Prime's feet in robot mode, I can kind of understand as to why it is just base plastic. But as we spin our attention back here to the front, you can see once again just some fantastic paintwork that really does look extraordinary. We've got a really slight blue tint here to the windscreen, which I think looks excellent. Some lovely metallic silver window wipers here. You can see the side view mirrors look awesome. As we spin our attention here to the top, this has also been fully painted. Just overall it looks absolutely fantastic, very accurate to how it of course appeared in the movie. And for those of you who may be able to tell, it does in fact actually compact into a very small vehicle, something which definitely surprised me upon getting this mold the first time round. Now of course all of the wheels can roll as you would expect, and due to transformation you can in fact actually take these here and slightly tilt them out to give you the impression that perhaps Prime of course is turning into a driveway, or of course taking a sharp turn in order to try and evade lockdown. Now this figure also comes with one accessory, that being the Ion Blaster. This tool has also been painted so much better than I was expecting. The actual white plastic appears to have been given this tarnished effect, and then you can see some really heavy duty paint actually applied throughout this, which overall I just think looks fantastic. Of course, as per the original mold, you can still in fact actually fire the spring-loaded mechanism, which is really awesome. And here for truck mode, sadly, it didn't have the best weapon storage, but we simply do just have it here along the back, just like so. You can also see here that singular smokestack. I was always quite unsure as to why they didn't just decide to give him 2 smokestacks in the movie, but very, very accurate overall to how he appeared in the film. Now, transformation-wise, surprisingly, this guy wasn't in fact all that intricate, which truly was almost the main gimmick of the main line for Age of Extinction. All of them were fairly simplistic in conversion, and all I can truly think of is that had they applied a complex conversion to this, oh my goodness, this guy could have been almost borderline masterpiece, as with a simplistic transformation, it results in a really awesome truck as well as robot mode. So of course, to begin with, we turn our attention here to the back and essentially just apply a little bit of pressure here to the back of the legs, which will ultimately allow you to shoot the feet through just like so. We can then proceed to indeed split this section. You'll then want to come here to the underside, just detach the wheels, and then flip this section up. Calling all Autobots, calling all Autobots. I think we just found a transformer. We can then, of course, take these sections here and just detach them and set them off to the side. We can then eject this section forwards and push the smokestacks through. Now, this particular region can become slightly finicky due to there being literally barely any clearance. So you're just going to want to collapse this singular smokestack in, fold out the faux chest, and then basically just take these here, lift these sections forwards, bring this section here to the back, and then I believe you're just going to want to inverse these panels in just like so. So hinge all of that out to the side. We can then rotate this here, bring the legs down, and just collapse the chest piece in. And then you'll want to take this section. You'll notice how we do have a canopy that will essentially just slide over the top, and we've also got some tabs that will peg here into these slots. And then you'll take the faux chest, just locking that in, solidifying the entire upper torso. Of course, repeat the same process here for this side. Fold down the arms, and then take these sections and fold them just like so. Take the actual shin pads, or I guess you could call them the knee pads, and here we have Evasion mode Optimus Prime, fully transformed up into his robot mode, and for the most part, mold-wise, looking absolutely fantastic. Now, sadly, unlike the vehicle mode, I really don't think the robot mode has been nowhere near as heavily weathered as I personally would have liked, but at least it is leaps and bounds more accurate when in comparison to some of the other Prime offerings out there. Now, one of the major mold differences between this figure and, of course, the Wave 1 regular release was that we now, in fact, actually have the battle mask applied. Personally, I've liked both molds, but this one, of course, is more iconic to Prime. You can see some really nice silver paint going on there, and it has what appears to be an almost subtle rust detailing along the sides. You can see the sculpt work looks fantastic. We do, in fact, actually get fully painted blue eyes, despite him actually clearly having some light popping here at the top. You can see some of that rust detailing carried over from vehicle mode. As we spin our attention here to the torso, of course, this here is a faux piece, but I actually don't think it looks too bad at all. We've got some nice flame details here on the side doors. You can clearly pick out what are supposed to be the headlights, and we do, in fact, actually get some really nice rust detailing going on here for this almost grille piece. This actually looks really accurate to the movie. And then as we just spin our attention here to the side, you can see all of this mechanical detailing, of which has in fact actually been fully painted as well as sculpted. And then as we just spin our attention here to the arms, sadly, due to it having a simplistic transformation, despite all of the armored panels being there, considering it's all one sculpt, it really doesn't look the best. It would have been nice if the shoulder armor had in fact been on its own independent hinge joint. It just would have made this Prime look slightly more beefy, but as it stands, you can see some nice flame details. However, no rusted paint applied onto this at all, and I really think that would have vastly helped to in fact actually amplify some of the sharper details of the sculpt. But you can see here for the forearms, these do in fact actually look awesome. We've got some nice nuts and bolts going along here towards the side. Sadly, unlike the actual Takara Tomy almost leader class remold of this guy, these panels cannot hinge to the back, meaning that sadly it does look slightly ugly here from a front on perspective. But as we spin our attention here to the legs, I actually think these here look awesome. Some nice rust detailing going on for the hips, however sadly barely any for the thighs as well as for the interior and in fact the front section. version of the shins, although we do get some nice rust and sculpt detailing going on here for the front, and literally no paint at all here for the toes. So I really do just wish that they could have taken more of this detailing and applied it to the figure as a whole. And then as we just spin our attention to the back, you can see that in regards to paint, it really is pretty much void. Now, in regards to articulation, surprisingly, despite him once again being simplistic, he was pretty posable. So here at the head, we do get a ball joint, which can look left to right as well as hinge up and down due to transformation. The neck joint does also allow us to excel that range of motion, which is absolutely fantastic. We do get soft ratchet joints going out to the side, full rotation here at the shoulder, as well as a hinge joint at the bicep, a single hinge joint here at the elbow, although due to transformation, it does in fact actually allow for a fantastic range of motion. We do in fact actually get wrist rotation, although it is very stiff, and due to this panel jutting out, it can be quite difficult to get a firm grip on that. We do also get a full waist rotation. These sections can hinge out to the side to allow the legs to kick out to that far, forward that far, back that far, of course, rotate here at the thigh, as well as a 90-degree bend there at the knee. Due to transformation, these knee pads can in fact hinge forwards and backwards, and of course we do in fact actually get a hinge joint forwards and backwards here for the foot, as well as a pretty decent ankle rocker pivot, which to be honest does in fact actually allow you to get this Optimus Prime in pretty much any pose that you want. So as mentioned at the beginning of this review, despite this figure being released and initially in 2014, I still think even here in 2022 he holds up exceptionally well. And to be honest, even if Hasbro just took this mold, of course, implemented some modifications, maybe to the armor of the actual shoulders, hinged this panel here back, and just slightly tidied him up, and of course painted him a little better, I would honestly actually be quite happy if this was our Studio Series Optimus. You can see how he does hold the Ion Blaster. Sadly, he doesn't grip it here at the handle. That was always something that really bugged me on the initial release, and sadly it's still a problem here for this one. I just do not know why they couldn't have added a peg here for this actual handle itself. I do know that this was compatible with their version of Dark of the Moon Megatron, and of course, as showcased in truck mode, you can have Prime firing this, or of course smashing, almost giving brain injuries to humans if of course he gets pissed. And here for a very quick size comparison, we've got the Evasion Transformers 4 Optimus Prime on the right and the Studio Series 05 version on the left. Now personally I would have loved to have brought out the SS32, however I do in fact actually have it combined with Jetfire with all of the DNA attachments actually on it, so it would have been a nightmare to of course disassemble this, and considering this guy for the most part is the same scale, I think that this comparison here will work pretty nicely. Now you can see that surprisingly the Transformers 4 version is in fact actually a bit bigger here than the Studio Series offering. Now personally I've always found the Studio Series Prime to be slightly too small when in comparison to what we saw in the movie, so I actually think this guy will indeed actually scale really nicely with some of the other Autobots and of course Decepticons that we've seen from Transformers 4 or even Transformers 3 for that matter. So for those of you who are after once again a Studio Series version of Evasion Prime, I definitely think this guy will work really well in the collection.
I escaped and took this form.
And so that was my throwback review for the Toys R Us exclusive Transformers Age of Extinction Rusty Evasion Mode Optimus Prime. As you guys have probably guessed, in regards to an actual Optimus Prime figure, I really do believe this to be one of the best Voyagers out there, especially considering that it was released in Age of Extinction. This guy really is awesome, and even here in 2022 still holds up incredibly well. In regards to the flat nose truck, I really do think it looks awesome, especially this time round with the Toys R Us exclusive deco. It looks leaps and bounds better when in comparison to some of the other Evasion Mode Prime repaints, and really does look just fantastic, even better in my opinion, at least in regards to paint, than the robot mode. The transformation, very simplistic as you would expect from a Transformers 4 figure, however I think results in a very accurate looking Prime design, really authentic to how he appeared in the movie. It would be awesome to have maybe seen them just add a few extra steps just to put the wheels in the correct place, of course just tidy up some of the kibble that we've got going on for the arm, but other than that, I really do think this is a fantastic looking figure. I think the Ion Blaster looks great. It has in fact actually surprisingly been painted very nicely, and whilst the robot mode in some areas is rather bare, overall I think that it is definitely once again a lot better than some of the other Prime repaints that are out there. And for those of you who are looking for the most accurate version of Evasion Mode Optimus Prime that is going to scale with some of your other mainline figures, I really do think this is the figure to in fact actually track down. However, sadly with him being a part of the movie Advanced line, and then of course being dedicated to a Toys R Us exclusive, I do think that he's going to be incredibly difficult to in fact actually track down. So your best bet may be to just wait to see whether or not Hasbro do announce a Studio Series version of this guy towards the end of this year, or of course next year. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed this review. I'd love to hear your thoughts on both the figure and the review down in the comment section below. Do you rate this Evasion Mode Prime mold as highly as I do? And would you in fact actually like to see a Studio Series rendition of this? As always, I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.